There are some motorcycles that can provide a riding experience really unlike any other bike on the road, and while they may not be the most versatile, capable, or outright powerful, every rider deserves to experience their unrivaled character at least once in their life. A perfect example of a bike that fits into this mold is the Yamaha RZ350. The RZ350 was the last street-legal factory two-stroke motorcycle to be sold in the United States, leaving the scene in 1985, and let's just say that they left on a high note. But it must be noted the RZ350 was sold in Canada until 1990 and Brazil until 1996, so if you're in one of those areas, you might have an easier time finding this bike still floating around. Now, fun personal Yamaha fact, my dad's first motorcycle was an RZ350, and he scared himself so bad he never rode again. Not me. I'm way dumber than he was. If you were ever to believe a high-revving, small-displacement 4-cylinder bike was fun to ride, a small-displacement 2-stroke street bike takes this fun factor to a whole other level. The RZ350 was this model's lineup's final form. It was evolving from a previous RD series and utilized tech and design distilled down from the 2-stroke GP racing bike. Like any revered 2-stroke, the RZ350 was powerful while being incredibly light. It made 52 peak horsepower, just shy of 9,000 RPM, while weighing barely over 370 pounds with a half tank of gas. Guys, this was the early 80s. There were UJMs like the Yamaha XJ750 that made a little over 70 horsepower, but also weighed 500 pounds. A small displacement 2-stroke street bike creates a whole different riding experience than you're used to having only ridden modern 4-stroke machines. 2-strokes are known for their peaky power delivery. The RZ350 wasn't exactly a dog below 6,000 RPM, but when it revved past that, the power output essentially doubled in an instant. It's like riding a 600 but with a little more than half the displacement and an exhaust note that sounds like a soda can full of angry little bees. Even the most experienced rider who's dabbled in almost every category of motorcycle will still get goosebumps when a vintage 2-stroke like an RZ350 lifts the front wheel under hard acceleration. It's a bike that everyone should try at least once. Even if you've ridden powerful open-class sport bikes or hyper-naked motorcycle, every single rider, hands down, can and should experience riding a Honda Grom. The Grom provides a sense of novelty that is otherwise non-existent in full-size motorcycles, especially very powerful motorcycles, and especially here in America, where it's one of the few 125cc motorcycles you can buy on showroom floors. A Grom with its incredibly modest 10 horsepower and 8 pounds-foot of torque might sound underwhelming on the spec sheet, but swing a leg over this machine and you will entirely understand why it's so beloved. There's something so silly and joyful about being able to ride a motorcycle to its absolute mechanical limits all the time with zero high-stakes consequences. It's sort of like a cheat code for fun. These bikes are small, lightweight, and by most metrics, incredibly inexpensive. Unless, of course, you find a fully kitted out stunt-built Grom on Facebook Marketplace that someone's trying to sell for like $6,000. There's a reason that Honda just prints money with these things. There are very few motorcycles that can make you smile and laugh as easily as a Grom. Sure, you'll laugh once Boost spools up on a Turbo Hayabusa, but it's more of a crazed, maniacal cackle compared to the wholesome joy you feel on a Grom. You just feel like a little kid again. A Grom isn't ideal to have as an only bike or a first motorcycle, but if you need some more lighthearted, carefree fun in your life, a rip around town on a Grom is certainly an easy way to pump up those dopamine levels. Similarly, there's something incredibly therapeutic about riding a pass-through scooter. Motorcyclists can be pretty uptight sometimes. It's all strangely ironic the way a motorcyclist will happily spend tens of thousands of dollars on a piss missile and act like they're too cool for school. My dude, you've literally based your entire identity around an expensive toy. Lighten up. So if you're in need of a swift ego death, you need to swing a leg not over but through a scooter and have yourself the time of your life. There's something incredibly lighthearted and carefree about having fun on two wheels without the pressure or stakes of a big, powerful machine. A scooter is super easy to ride, with most just using a twist-and-go throttle paired with a CVT transmission. They're small and nimble and can weave through traffic or tight, congested downtown areas with ease. They're comfortable and relaxed. You've got just one hand doing the work while your other appendages can take the day off. It wouldn't be out the realm of possibility that when riding a scooter, you can even go a little lighter on the gear. I'm not recommending it, but it just feels appropriate. I don't know why. Scooters you're meant to ride with like a modular helmet and flip-flops. With low speeds and less technical maneuvering, you wouldn't be assuming much risk by rolling around town in a half helmet and some jorts. although you should probably still keep the Corona flip-flops packed away in your shoe rack. You're only allowed to wear those if you're riding 2-up with your fraternity brother on a rented scooter on spring break in Fort Lauderdale. Now look, even if it's not your cup of tea, every rider should experience at some point in their life a world-class superbike, as the combination of back-breaking ergonomics and butt-puckering power is truly the pinnacle of performance motorcycling. For example, if you only ever ridden cruisers and you've never ridden a top dog superbike, trust me, you're not prepared. And if you're gonna ride any superbike, in my opinion, it should be the Aprilia RS350, a bike that has almost universally been granted the title of the best sounding motorcycle currently in production. It sounds so good. The RS350 was first introduced in 2009 to compete in World Superbike, where it won the championship the following year. It's built with true Aprilia racing DNA. It has an incredibly spicy 1099cc V4 engine that makes a whopping 217 horsepower and 92 pounds-foot of torque. And I think in 2025, it's going to make 220. I don't know. It's so much power. 80% of this torque is available by the middle of the rev range, so you don't have to necessarily wind it all the way out to get the power, but you're gonna want to. You should wind this motorcycle out to hear that oh-so-sweet V4 soundtrack. It has a deep and throaty growl at low RPM and then sounds like a rabid opera singer when rung out to redline. I took one of these on track. It was fully race prep thanks to the good folks over at Eurocycle. I think I titled the video "The Fastest Motorcycle I've Ever Ridden," and it's just crazy. I'm not usually the guy to want to click on a cold start brutal exhaust sound video on YouTube, but an RS350 exhaust pure sound compilation might warrant my click. I'd like to consider myself a man of modest taste. I've grown to appreciate the purity of a stock motorcycle, but an Italian superbike with an aftermarket exhaust that shoots flames, yeah, that tickles the amygdala and even the most sensible of motorcyclists. Ask any old school super sport squid and they'll say there's nothing like a 4-cylinder engine. 4-cylinder this, 4-cylinder that. I get that you can't count higher than that, but what's with the obsession with 4 cylinders? I am just joking, of course. 4-cylinder bikes are starting to earn a bit of novelty status as they wane in popularity over twins and triples. But what is the most fun 4-cylinder that every motorcyclist should try at least once? A small displacement 4-cylinder. Honda has a couple really neat small 4-cylinder bikes in their repertoire that are certainly worth trying out if you have the opportunity. There is, of course, the CBR 400, also known as the Baby Blade, which was produced by Honda from 1983 to 2000. There's also the RVF 400. There's lots of cool baby bikes. But the CBR 400 used a 399cc inline-4 that made a whole 59 horsepower. Even more exotic was the CBR 250RR, which used a 249cc inline-4 that revved out to nearly 20,000 RPM while making 45 horsepower. Sure, you might think your R6 sounds amazing at redline, but this bike sounds absolutely wild. It sounds like an F1 car. Don't be confused with the modern rendition of the CBR 250RR, which is Honda's 250cc parallel twin that's sold exclusively in Asia since 2016. The original CBR 250RR is a whole other beast. It was produced from 1986 until 2000, and it was a remarkable departure from conventional small displacement bikes like the Ninja 250. Its engine was practically a microscopic scale model of a superbike engine. It was liquid cooled, had 16 valves, and had the tiniest 1.9 by 1.3 inch bore and stroke. It is truly one of a kind. But these bikes are rare and weren't always available in every market, so even if you have the chance to ride a modern small displacement 4-cylinder like the ZX4RR, it's well worth swinging a leg over to experience at least once. If you've been watching the channel for a while, you're bound to know that we're partial to rock form handlebar mounts and phone cases around here. I'll always keep a mount on the giveaway bike as well as my personal bike, which always comes in handy if I'm doing a longer ride where I need GPS navigation. Just when I thought Rockform's lineup of motorcycle products couldn't get any better, I'm excited to share with you that they've just recently released a brand new mounting system that maximizes your options for adjustability and convenience. The new Pro Ball mount is the most functional mounting system yet. It uses a universal handlebar mount that's compatible with handlebar diameters from 7/8 all the way to 1.5 inches, includes 5 different spacers to ensure a perfect fit. The double ball joint provides endless options for adjustability, so you can get the perfect viewing angle no matter what your bike setup is like. The Pro Ball mount is made of CNC aircraft grade aluminum with stainless steel hardware, so it's built to stand the test of time no matter how aggressive your riding is. The Rockform Pro Ball mount is an awesome addition to the line of products, so if you haven't gotten a Rockform mount yet or you're looking for an upgrade, click the link in the description and use the code YN25 to receive 25% off your order. That's 25% off using code YN25. Thanks so much to Rockform for the continued support on the channel. Now let's get back to the show. Now, supermotos are a peculiar niche of motorcycle. No matter how specific their use case and how few factory models have been sold, they're still wildly popular amongst those in the know. And that's because they're just so damn fun. A supermoto is kind of like a step above a Grom. They're still really lightweight, usually clocking in at around 300 pounds or so, depending on the model. Some race spec 450 supermotos are obviously very light, but factory supermotos from Japan, like the KLX 300 SM, are fun, but they make about 25 horsepower. The DRZ 400 SM makes closer to 40, but it's still quite heavy. Even that new DRZ 4 is like 330 pounds. But supermotos from European brands like KTM and Husqvarna are a whole other animal. The KTM SMC-R or the Husky 701 make 74 ponies and weigh about 320 pounds. That really is a power-to-weight ratio that's pretty hard to match. Supermotos have long travel suspension and upright rider ergonomics, which make them highly conducive to wheelies and other hooligan behavior. Whether you've got a kind of limp Japanese supermoto, a nicer European supermoto, a fast and light motocross supermoto conversion, which a lot of people really believe is the only real supermoto, but even a supermoto pit bike, you're gonna have a blast on these machines. They're great for around town mobbing, taking tight corners, riding on normal motorcycle tracks, go-kart tracks, or even taking some small jumps. Riding a supermoto is really unlike any other motorcycle, and it's certainly soothing to experience at least once. And if you've never ridden it, you really owe it to yourself. Okay, and the last motorcycle that everyone should try at least once is any motorcycle with forced induction. Seriously, if you ever have the chance to ride any boosted motorcycle, you have to take it. Boosted motorcycles are typically a crime against nature. It is not something that should exist within natural law. Very few factory machines have ever come turbocharged, and very few motorcycles have ever been turbocharged. A turbocharger requires exhaust gases to spin the compressor to build boost, meaning you'll have to contend with that notorious turbo lag. Nothing like hitting boost while your bike is leaned over in a corner and you suddenly get an extra 50 horsepower to the rear wheel. Talk about a real widowmaker. Supercharged bikes are a little bit better as the compressor is spun by the engine, so there's not as much of a delay in boost. The Big Four tried to make turbo bikes in the 80s to sidestep displacement tariffs on imported bikes, but they were pretty chaotic, unsafe, and complicated to work on. And many people have turbocharged Hayabusas, myself included, or Gixxers or ZX14s, most of which experienced the same outcome: incredible, unfathomable power and inevitable mechanical destruction. Turbo bikes are not here for a long time, but they are here for a good time. There are, of course, the ZH2 and H2 from Kawasaki, the used factory supercharged 998cc four-cylinder engines as well. They're big, powerful, make monstrous amounts of torque and power, and have ridiculous supercharger flutters. And I still contend that the ZH2 and the H2 are the only motorcycles sold today that have Turbo Hayabusa energy. And many a deluded bike builder with a god complex have built everything from turbocharged 135 cubic inch Harleys to Royal Enfield 650s or supercharged Thruxtons. So no matter what forced induction motorcycle you can experience, just give it a go. There's really nothing that compares to the feeling that all that power comes on when you hit boost on a motorcycle. There's supercharged Busas, turbo VMAXs, supercharged VMAXs, of course my preferred Turbo Hayabusa, but it's just unlike any other riding experience you can ever fathom. My Turbo Hayabusa was doing 300 wheel horsepower and 160 foot-pounds of torque to the tire. And for a lot of people, it really will be a bike you only need to ride once, because you'll either be scared shitless, the bike will explode, or you will have unalived yourself. I count myself lucky that I not only owned a Turbo Hayabusa, but I lived to tell the tale. I don't think I'm ever gonna go back, because I don't think I'm gonna get lucky again. Thanks for making it all the way to the end of this video. What does your motorcycle bucket list look like? Are you still too cool to ride a scooter? Let me know what you guys think down below. I hope you enjoyed today's video. I'll catch you in the next one. Fact: a chef's hat has 100 pleats. Goodbye. All right, guys, our time on this video has come to a close, but if you want to keep the conversation going, head over to YamaNoob.co and become a member. I can talk to you on the Discord server. It's a lot of fun. You get access to behind-the-scenes content, and best of all, entries to win the giveaway bikes, like this one right here. It's coming to a close, so while you're waiting on that next video to queue up on your feed, make sure you become a member on YamaNoob.co, and that way you get entered to win this bike, and the next bike, and the next bike, because 2025 is going to be crazy. There's going to be so many bikes coming and going. It's just nuts.